everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episodes 1 and 2 of the Agatha All Along series. So if you haven't watched those episodes yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out both of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
Joining with me to break down the first 2 episodes of the Agatha All Along series, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hey, we're back doing live stuff.
We're back! If we really want to, pull the curtain away a little bit, I messed up the first time I was doing the intro, because I was so used to us doing, our retro recaps that I was like, normally we wouldn't have a spoiler
back with the current things,
Yeah, now we're back with current. Well, we have so much stuff to talk about. We have so many things. All the things. But today we're doing the 2-episode premiere of Agatha All Along. And I mean, kicking things right off, I was pleasantly surprised about this series so far. Like, I am really enjoying the first 2 episodes, especially the way that they just dump us right back into kind of the Hex reality, only for Agatha in this circumstance. Actually, we find out later that it really is only for her still. But it really makes it feel like as if WandaVision just finished type of thing, because we get jumped right back into a fake reality.
Right.
And I really enjoyed how they did that and kind of just immediately brought us back into kind of the way we felt at the end of the WandaVision series type of thing. I think that was a great choice to do that. Like, we didn't have like glimpses of the fake reality, and she'd already worked it out. We actually got to see her work herself out of the fake reality, and it happened very quickly. But I really appreciated the way that we kick off. We're getting thrown right into this fake reality, this detective drama series, I guess, is what we got thrown into, and which. It played really well. Like, it was pretty cool. Like, as a fake detective reality series for a little while. And I really liked the way that we kind of kicked off this episode and the series in general to kind of get us back into that mindset of, we don't know everything that's real type of thing. And Agatha didn't know everything that was real. She was getting like these weird little glimpses of reality and stuff like that. And obviously, spoiler alert has already been happened, but by second episode, we're kind of in the real reality type of thing. But I just really liked that beginning and just kind of as like to make sure that we understand this is a continuation from the WandaVision series. These are, the events that left off from that series, basically. So I thought it was really cool. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions from episode 1?
Yeah, I like that this felt like a direct follow-up to WandaVision. And now that we know that we're kind of getting like this like kind of trilogy of stories that kind of ties in with the themes of WandaVision, it makes me really kind of excited to kind of see what we're going to see in this series particularly too, especially based on what we got in the first 2 episodes. Kind of like what you were talking about, the way they evoke that WandaVision feel right away is by throwing you into that fake reality of that kind of True Detective / Mayor of Easttown kind of inspired detective show there, with Catherine Hahn just kind of like being the star of her own show. So just another cool thing, just kind of like taking the WandaVision villain who was kind of manipulating our hero to a degree and kind of flipping it over. And now she's kind of like the one who's being manipulated. She's kind of free herself out of this kind of prison that we saw her put in at the end of WandaVision, right? I thought that was really cool. And also doing a really good job of kind of reintroducing us to a lot of like the kind of side characters that were like the citizens of Westview throughout especially the first episode. I think in the first episode we got to see pretty much most of not all of them for a good like second or two there. So that was really cool, and just kind of seeing the different way that they were playing roles in Agatha's life as opposed to like the roles they played in Wanda's different realities. So yeah, that was really cool. And then yeah, I like that we didn't spend too much time in there too. We kind of like, okay, this is kind of like your little bit of refresher. Now we can kind of get started on the story that we want to tell too. So yeah, I think that the pacing this kind of starts off here was really good.
Yeah, and that leads perfectly into my takeaway from episode 1. So you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I mean, pretty much along the exact same lines of what you were saying. I look, I liked, the glimpse of the fake reality and how it kind of, instantly brought us back. Not only, knowing that this is a fake reality, but knowing that it was a TV themed type of thing, which accurately 100% fit with the WandaVision, like the way that things were happening as if they were TV shows and different decades of TV shows and all this kind of stuff. So it was really cool on two levels, bringing us in like that. But just like you were saying, and this is pretty much my big takeaway from episode 1, I really appreciate that they did give us that glimpse and let us get all right back into it and like help us realize that this is a continuation from those events. But then, they quickly were able to pull us out of it and pull Agatha out of it, or she was able to pull herself out of it, I guess, or with the help of Teen. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
With the help of Teen. But I appreciate how, now we have a lot more that we can do with the series. It didn't spend like the first two opening episodes on her still trapped in it. And like, because they very easily could have stretched that out a lot longer. I mean, there were some interesting parts of it. Like, is that really Wanda's body? Like, did something like, you know what I mean? Like, there's
they were playing with your head as far as like, wait, what's going on here as far as reality goes.
right. So there were some things they could have extended to kind of made that like fill out through the first full episode type of thing. But I did really appreciate that they kind of, very quickly, showed us that. And then we're like, hey, now Agatha's out, like type of thing. And then now we can have the real Agatha story go now.
Right.
And so I really like how they did that. And in some other cases, they could have, not done that. And we could have had a much slower build into, what is actually happening. But I did really like that. But Rico, what are some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. But man, for me, especially with the first episode, I think for me, and really both episodes, and I'm sure I'm going to be saying this throughout the series, but Catherine Hahn's performance in this is just a lot of fun to watch. I think really just the idea of giving her own lead show, especially within the Marvel universe, I think is just a really fun idea. And I think she really plays this character really well, and it's a lot of fun to watch on screen. But especially in this episode particularly because she's playing the grounded detective to kind of start off the episode. And I think like when the episode first starts, it actually feels kind of more realistic. She's not kind of hamming it up as much as you, especially for her being known as like a comedy actress foremost. But she's kind of showing off some pretty good dramatic chops. But I think the more you see like the layers peel back, you start to see her kind of get a little bit more like out there outlandish in her performance. Like especially when she gets into like her office, like then she just kind of turns into like kind of like that gruffy, angry detective. And I thought she was like, if you just know Catherine Hahn as a performer, it's just really funny watching her kind of play that, especially when she's interrogating the teen. I think that was to me, I was just kind of bursting out laughing. Yeah, but to me, it was giving a little bit of like Miss Congeniality, Sandra Bullock when she was like Gracie Lou Freebush, like before she got the makeover. It was kind of giving that little vibe to me. When she would walk out of the car with the donut and then now she's just kind of like, oh, I'm going back in from their days of work kind of a thing. I was really having fun with that. And then like I said, the more you realize that like you kind of seeing like real Agatha kind of like come out with kind of mixtures of like grounded detective. So it was really funny. And then of course the ultimate kind of like scene where she kind of breaks free of this prison that she's in, which was actually a really cool scene herself when she's in the kind of like the morgue area, and basically like peels back the layers of all the stuff that we saw back in WandaVision too, which is awesome. And then we get this really cool like swinging light shot of her and her black and white skin from like basically the 50s versions of her, Agnes basically, and then which to me gave me Pleasantville vibes basically. Like that's like I was like, oh, this is really cool. Just kind of seeing the way they paved the lighting in there just made her look really cool, and it just felt very like Disney witchy too. I think that was really I had a lot of fun with that whole like transformation scene. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just think watching her kind of have this like kind of take over the screen whenever she's on in every scene is just like a lot of fun. Like it's really going to be the thing that draws me in this the series, just watching her have fun on screen.
Yeah. And just like you said, I love the interrogation scene where she kicks over the chair with Teen in it. But then another scene, like I didn't even pick up that on that as much when I was first watching it. But as you were saying it, I was like, oh, he's right. Like as she's starting to realize that she's probably like she's kind of in a fake
I think it's once Rio shows up.
Yeah. And do you remember? So the other scene I was going to mention, do you remember when Rio shows up at her house with the pizza and Agatha's sitting on the couch, but she's sitting so awkwardly, like wide
oh my god,
on the couch? Like,
I can just imagine them before the scene being like, "What if I just sat like this?"
Yeah.
Just like it'd be really funny.
Yeah. But it goes to show exactly what you were saying. Kind of the more like outlandish Agatha, like real Agatha. Personality
very showy
is starting to come out, and you're right, and because it's way further in the episode, like that's pretty much right before she kind of starts waking up, like to the real reality. So you're totally right. I did not catch that the first time. I was just like, oh, this is a goofy way to sit.
It's a surprisingly layered performance for such a wild character. I think that's what makes her so fun in the role.
Yeah, absolutely, and I just like you said, she kind of takes over the screen every scene she's in. She bounces really well off of pretty much every character. Like even in like you were saying, even in the detective drama ish, she's very well bouncing off of the other detective that she's talking to at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and then of course it all leads actually to probably what I think is the funniest scene in the entire episode when she finally does emerge and she's naked and she just runs out across the street to her neighbor who I think was her detective partner in like her other reality, and just the kind of way that he plays off for her, like you used to be you're a little loose in your boundaries and stuff like that, and then finally like you're naked. So I thought he played out that so well, and I was dying laughing when that happened. But I thought that was like that great, like perfect, like Catherine Hahn comedy to kind of wrap things up after such a serious tone before that.
Yeah, I like how she goes 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, don't call me nosy either. I'll cut your tongue out.
yeah. There's so many like good lines. Just awesome. Stuff. But you want to get to some stuff for episode 2?
Yeah, let's talk episode 2.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick us off again with just kind of instant reactions, stuff like that. Solid second episode. Like I said, now we're back in, I guess, real reality, like whatever. Look, I am a sucker for let's like recruit the crew, or let's get the band back together. Yeah, like those kind of storylines always like suck me. As long as we have good characters that they're bringing in, like good actors, and they play well with each other. That kind of storyline will always draw me in, like immediately to like whatever I'm watching. Like Ocean's 11, like like on that level of type of thing. And so I really appreciated this entire episode and kind of that part of the storyline at least. And yeah, I mean I'll kick it right to you because I kind of already know like what you're talking about too. So what were some of your instant reactions for episode 2?
Same thing. The opening half of this, just again, we got Agatha already. She's out and about. She's ready to do her thing now. We can kind of get moving with the story. We've undone the events of WandaVision. Now we can move on to Agatha's main story. And I like that it turns into basically like a buddy road trip between her and the teen, because she has him basically chauffeur her around to recruit all these other witches, and basically using him as like a puppet for all these different acting scenes that she wants to play out. Which I think is really funny. But the one I particularly enjoyed the most was the first one where she meets Patti LuPone's character, the fortune teller. I can't remember all the names right now, but I'm sure as the series goes on, I'm gonna remember all these girls' names in the show. But just the whole thing of her doing like the whole like Southern mom bit with him, and then like just right away you see on Patti LuPone's face like, I'm not buying this girl shit at all. And then finally, like when she kind of like I guess kind of proves to her that she's kind of like the real deal, and they have like the actual like witch to witch conversation. I just kind of like that whole back and forth between them. And I think she just I get the collection of different kinds of witches. I think is just really fun. They all kind of play off of each other really well. And really the big thing is just how they all play off Agatha. Because you can tell they all just like can't stand her, but like she doesn't care, and she just kind of does her own thing, and that's what makes her so fun. And so I think that's just gonna be the fun where they all like they all have the same goal though, so they have to kind of work together. So it's like that odd. It's an oddball team for. So that's what. Those are the kind of teams I kind of like the most. It's someone like the Little Giants as opposed to like the Cowboys and that team. Like I prefer the Little Giants.
Exactly.
But yeah, my favorite thing about that was just her not buying Agatha's shtick at all. And then the other one was the one who was doing like the jade eggs and stuff like that, like the edible candles or whatever those were. Like I like that whole scene, which is just kind of like freaking the other girls out, and the girls like, nope, we're out of here. I thought that was really cool. And then of course getting the other girl fired from her security job because she's like the tough girl cop. So yeah, very all different personalities, but I think that's what's gonna make this like a very colorful group to watch.
Right. And just so we're on the same page, Aubrey Plaza's Rio character was the fourth name on that list, right? Like,
oh yeah, they dropped the obvious clues in there too. You could just tell she didn't want to deal with her.
Right, exactly. So we know she's going to show up somehow, some way on the Witch's Road. Even though she wasn't there when they actually, entered, like she's gonna show up somehow. Like there's gonna be a way that she has to show up. But do you want to get to some big takeaways for episode 2?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off big takeaways for episode 2?
Okay, so really, the one thing I loved about this episode was Deborah Jo Rupp in this series. I just love her as an actress. To me, she's always going to be one of my favorite TV moms as Katie Foreman from that 70s show. And when we got to see her in WandaVision, I thought that was really cool because we got to see her kind of like in that sitcom-y role because she was playing into Wanda's reality there. So that was really cool. But now we got to see her kind of play just like more of like a straight up role. But she still has that like Kitty Foreman vibe to her, which I just think is so like Austin the Great. Yeah, it's the greatest thing. Like she's got that nice like kind of motherly nature, and of course, and it's always gonna be the laugh. It's always gonna get me up every single time. But man, she was cracking me up during this episode when she's finally in the basement with all them, and they finally start singing the witches song and stuff like that. And she's just like kind of like trying to fit in. She's trying to find her spot to like sing along with them, but she doesn't know the words. And of course, she's like, "Am I supposed to know this song?" But at the end of the day, she's just kind of like happy to be involved. Even at the when the Salem 7 actually shows up and they're all they actually get the door open. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just go down. We're going down to the stairwell. I'm gonna go down with you guys. She takes off her shoes at the end with them. Like she's just along for the ride. And I just love that about her. Like, so yeah, I think that's also gonna be another thing I'm very excited for. Because like you got all these kind of like sassy ass witches who just like are tired of Agatha's shit. And then you have like this very positive, just neighborly lady here who's just like along the journey because she's just there to fill a spot. And so I really hope there's some cool payoff with that too. Like the journey for her because she's actually doing this a bunch of witches. Maybe she'll end up earning some powers or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool. Or maybe just the fact that like they're impressed with that like a regular human just took this walk to begin with like that. But that's also So yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do with her because I'm sure she's just gonna have me laughing throughout the entire series.
Yeah, the part where I lost it in that is when they're going around and all of the witches are singing the song that she doesn't know, and she just starts dancing. So there's one shot where she starts dancing.
Yeah, she just starts dancing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, she's just so. She plays like the not cool but trying to fit in thing like so well, and I was just like, I was dying.
It's perfect. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, same. I got the same vibes. Oh, it'll always, just like you said, always be Kitty Foreman. Like
always. Yeah, always.
But as far as takeaways from this episode, I know like there's already pretty much an agreed on theory about this, but I like that they're kind of keeping it a mystery of the teen's identity for now, because it's just another layer of something we have to think about. Like we don't know for sure, but I think we're like the internet running theory is that it's Billy, Wiccan. But yeah, we don't know for sure. There's a lot of misdirect in the first episode because like who knows if that was really Wanda's body? Who knows like if Agatha even as a kid? Like I know in the cop drama thing, she opens the door and obviously she has a child that had passed away because there's an empty bedroom or something, or has moved away. We don't know if they passed away or if they moved away or whatever. Either way. But we don't know if all of that's fake. We don't know if that's just, something of real. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many questions around it.
A lot of blurred lines in all of those scenarios. Yeah.
So I really appreciate that they're still running with this. I don't know how long they're going to run with it, but I appreciate having that extra layer of, well, we don't
Mhm.
know for sure. So
Yeah,
I think
same.
I think it's really it just adds another little interesting thing. Like they could have, just easily spilled the beans in the first episode or whatever, whenever they wanted to, second episode, something like that. But I like that they're kind of going with this shtick of, anytime he tries to say anything like really, really personal, she can't hear it or she can't read it. Like she can't like anything type of thing. There's something locked. There's a mental block there type of thing. So
Yeah, and it could create some interesting mystery. Like, why is that happening? Who's
right.
who's doing that? I think that's also the thing. Like, who is in control of that happening to her in the first place?
Right. It's something we can speculate, and I don't want to say it because, when he tries to say his name, I believe that's still the first episode.
Mhm.
We get an M across his lips.
Right.
And look, M could easily stand for Maximoff, but the other M that it could stand for?
The very other famous M that everyone keeps theorizing.
Mephisto.
Yeah,
We're bringing it
yeah,
back.
yeah.
I just like that we can bring it back again. It
I-
was all through.
You bring in witches
WandaVision.
and kind of devil-like stuff. You can always kind of throw in a guy like Mephisto. So at the end, we know he's coming eventually. Like I think that's the whole thing. Like he's looming somewhere, and like they're just kind of figuring out a spot to like just throw him in there. And so yeah, if they're gonna do it here, that'd be kind of cool. That would definitely bring some eyes, I think, to the show too. Like you're saying, well, they got Mephisto.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, I better check this out then.
It'll feel earned too if we get Mephisto in this series because it's like every time we've been guessing it for
The
for
theory started
WandaVision.
with WandaVision, yeah.
Right. But you want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna give predictions just really quick because I mean, obviously we know the next episode's gonna deal with the Witch's Road because that's where they are. That's how we left off episode 2.
Mhm.
But there's kind of a couple of things that I mean, there's plenty of things to wonder about because we only have the first 2 episodes. But a couple big ones, and I mean, I already said the first one, Aubrey Plaza's Rio character somehow is going to have to end up there. So I'm very curious at how she ends up there with them because obviously she was not there. So there's got to be some way that she ends up there. So
Right.
I'm curious on how that's going to happen. And then also I'm really curious. At least I don't know if there's more knowledge about the Witch's Road in general, but I don't know much about it, so I don't understand why it's such a dangerous thing in general. So I'm really curious to see what kind of obstacles or dangers are along the way, type of thing. If they were all very nervous about this, but apparently Agatha has survived it before, like it must mean that it's something really difficult. So
Right.
I'm curious to kind of see what is difficult about it, what is so dangerous, I guess.
Right.
Otherwise everybody would be doing it, and the reward wouldn't be as I guess rewarding as lack of a better word, rewarding as it is, where you kind of get a wish or something like that type of thing. So I'm curious.
for sure.
There's just a lot of questions, but in a good way. Like there's a lot of things to look forward to have tied together and stuff like that moving forward. So I'm just excited for the next episode and the rest of the series in general. But Rico, what's some of your predictions moving forward? I guess for next episode, but rest of the season, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm getting major like Yellow Brick Road vibes from. I'm getting Wizard of Oz vibes from. Wow, I can't say this title. Wizard of Oz vibes from the show in general.
Yeah.
But definitely from the Witch's Road. I think like you're definitely seeing like a Yellow Brick Road kind of like a horror kind of thing where first of all when you get the first like look of that thing, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I'm like you got a straight like road that you just have to follow like this path.
Yep.
Like definitely Yellow Brick Road status kind of a thing. And you got your kind of your merry group of friends here that you gotta walk along with. So and we know, I imagine it's almost kind of like like the Jedi trials or whatever, but like for witches. So like it's gonna be a mixture of like some stuff that you gotta deal with physically or in this case like with their own magic, and then some stuff they have to like kind of deal with like internally, maybe mentally, like a lot of mental stuff they gotta go through. So yeah, I imagine so like psychological hurdles, I guess. And I think that's what plays in great with like the horror themes of what the show is going to bring. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see kind of like what's going to go on there. Yeah, but also the Salem 7. I think that little like tease that we got of them
That was
during the
creepy.
song. Yeah, that's the kind of horror vibes I want from a Marvel show for sure. Like if you're gonna tell me that Marvel's gonna dive into the horror stuff, like give me some creepy shit. And that was definitely some creepy stuff. Like every time they would kind of show the way they would kind of like separate and then come back, like in like that kind of like
Yeah.
creepy, like kind of they speed it up and then kind of slow it down. Yeah, that I love that kind of stuff. I think it's really creepy. I think it's a massive step up because we were just talking before this, like, compared to like the coven that we got in the acolyte, where all we see is them just kind of like waving and chanting. Like we're seeing
Right.
some kind of like creepy witch stuff here, and they're kind of tying it back to like real witch history too, with the Salem witch trials and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool, and I'm really interested in what kind of deep lore or deep cut references they make to that history that they're gonna make, because I think that's gonna be that's one of the things I love about these kind of shows, like like Moon Knight too, is like you end up like learning a little bit about kind of different types of history that you don't really go out of your way to read so much. Like
Yeah.
in Moon Knight's case, it was about kind of like Egypt gods and stuff like that. I didn't know like all about the different kinds of gods in Egypt until Moon Knight kind of introduced like that kind of concept. So I think this show is gonna do a good job of kind of introducing some of kind of like that witch lore to me, and I think I think that's one of those things I look forward to, is shows like this.
Yeah. When one of them, when they're finally like accessing the witch's road to go down the
Mhm.
steps, and the one goes crawling down the step. Oh, that was creepy.
Oh yeah, that was really
Yeah.
cool. I like the top down shot of the stairs because it looked like it just stopped, and I was like, "How's it?" It didn't even look like it even goes like down, like depth wise, and you just see them walking down. I'm like, "That's really cool how they built
Right.
that." And
Right.
yeah, it was really cool. I really think there's gonna be a lot of cool like practical sets and
Yeah.
practical effects in this, along with like the cool CG stuff that's with the witch powers. Getting her purple back when she gets her purple back, as she says. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun like little spooky show for Halloween time.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is kind of our intro into spooky season. Like this is
Yeah,
gonna.
it's our Halloween special for sure. So
Yeah.
we got Werewolf by Night last year, and then this is like our big Marvel television Halloween special.
Yeah. So I mean, it's getting us ready. It's getting us like into it, and it's gonna carry us all the way up to Halloween. So like it's
Yeah,
perfect. It's measured
yeah,
out perfect. They
gotta
knew what
love
they
it.
were doing. But as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of the first 2 episodes of the Agatha All Along series? And I mean, what are you looking forward to? There's kind of no wrong answers in this. Like we're kind of left in this, we don't know what's going to happen next in a good way. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of stuff to unpack, and it's really cool to have that going into a brand new series in general. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye everybody.
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.